Ziggy.
What's up, Cope?
Hey, man. Welcome to our next episode of, well, we call it, please allow me to introduce myself, because that's the opening line to the famous Rolling Stones song about sympathy for the devil, right? So, sympathy for the Red Devils.
There you go.
So, welcome to the latest episode of it. We're interviewing today Ted Kirkpatrick, class of 1986, Hall of Famer, great
Super
player.
excited.
You got to meet him when? When's the first time you met him? Or tell me your recollection of Ted Kirkpatrick.
So I remember meeting him at an alumni hoops game. We used to call it the game. Now it's the weekend. But he came back, maybe my freshman year, maybe my sophomore year. But I just remember he had a presence to him, right? He showed up. Everyone kind of showed him adoration, right? You could tell he was a good player. And then I saw him on the court and I said, he's a good player, right? I mean, so he's 7 years older than me. So when I started Dickinson, he'd been out of Dickinson for 4 years. So he's coming back as a 26, 27-year-old, right? He's in shape. He still can hoop. And you just could tell he had a presence. And, then, of course, his face was up on the Hall of Fame in decline, So I knew who he was just by name and face. And then I don't think I met him. Right? He didn't care who I was. But I saw him and I was like, oh, that's Ted Kirkpatrick. So
Yeah. Okay. I remember him as part of the recruiting, the brochures I would get, or the team programs Coach Evans would send when I was being recruited, and I'd see his name or face, and I also was able, because we lived in Central Pennsylvania, we could kind of follow local college basketball, and I recognize his name from some of that stuff. So yeah, he was one of those people that I looked to and said, "Oh, he must have been a good player. I'd like to be like him."
yeah.
So, and to tell you how good of a player he was, we did our research, right? So he's in the record books, Ziggy, 17 times, and he is number 6 and in scoring and assists, still to this day. Number 5 in total field goals made, and number 5 in steals, and number 2 in block shots.
That's good.
So, yeah, so like, a couple of other smaller stats I pulled. Shot 54% from the floor for his career. That's 9th overall, right? And he has 2 of the top 10 seasons in blocks, 2 of the top 4 seasons in steals, and then also 2 of the top 10 in field goals made. So, very good player.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer, and has become a friend of ours, and is sort of a alumni hoops weekend like staple well after he stopped playing in the game.
So he came back, like I said, regularly, maybe his first 10 years out of college. And then there was a gap. And then when we kind of launched FORDB in 2019 or 2018, I can't remember, he came back for that. And I remember him having a great time. Yeah. And so now he's kind of been a staple, not every year, but he came back last year and he's coming back next year. So he's kind of, he's become a friend of ours. And a friend of the program and an important historical piece of the program for sure.
Yeah, and I have 1.5 funny memories about him. I played in an alumni hoops game one year with and I swear to you, I tell people this, I don't know if it's true. I swear he had 60 in the game. We beat Young Bucks, a bunch of guys who had just graduated who were good players. I think we rolled up 110 points. I swear to you, he had to. It felt like he had 60.
Yeah.
All Jeff Thompson and I did was rebound, and he killed these guys. It was fantastic. And so I think he had 60, might have been 39. I have no idea. And then and I ended up together at the end of an alumni hoops weekend, sitting in the new Paz at like 1 a.m, just talking, basically doing what we're about to do, just talking about our experiences and stuff.
Yep.
And I say 1.5 memories because it was 1 into 2:30 in the morning. So I'm looking forward to refreshing that conversation with Teddy.
Yeah. But those are the moments, we keep saying call to action is to come back. You come back and have those moments. Those are special.
Yep. So please come back. But before you do that, let's let Teddy Kirkpatrick, class of 86 and Hall of Fame Red Devil Hoopster, let's let him introduce himself to the rest of us. Let's go to Teddy. Got Teddy here. Okay, so we have Ted Kirkpatrick.
Outstanding.
We've known for several years now.
Yep.
But a lot of people don't. So we're going to introduce him. So Teddy, we tend to like to start with folks and say welcome, but like, how'd you tell us your story? Where did you grow up? Tell us where you grew up and played high school and how you started playing hoops.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. This is a great idea, this podcast, guys, and I'm glad you invited me. I'm honored to be on here. It's my first podcast, but I'll start at the beginning. I can give you a summary. So my father was a basketball player at Upper Darby High School at Delaware County. So I'm from Delaware County, Springfield High School. And he put a basketball court in our backyard, the old hoop on the garage type of thing. So you could never run a layup and not run into the garage with glass windows. I don't know if you guys have done that.
Exact same for me. Yep.
Yeah.
There was no pole at my house. There was a garage.
Yeah, the garage. So I had three brothers, and we played a lot of hoop back there, and played a lot at the local park down at Powell Road Park in Springfield, Delaware County.
And where were you, Teddy? You have three brothers. Were you one of the younger ones, so you benefited from having older brothers, or where did you fall?
Yeah, I definitely helped to have older brothers. I had two older brothers, Tom and Bob, and a younger brother, Andy. And as I think back to what helped me as a basketball player, it's definitely there's two big brothers in the backyard pushing you around, and even down at the park where you don't see this anymore. You could be playing with adults. I mean, you might be 10 years old, 12 years old, playing with adults, and those are the guys that really kind of taught you the game.
Yep.
And even the idea of competitiveness and trying to win ball games, and you had to win in order to stay on. Like all those early lessons were great for me from age 10 to 16, playing down the park every night.
So did you play with your brothers in like middle school or high school, or are you guys close enough in age?
Oh yeah. So my older brother was 4 years older than me, 3 years older. So a lot in the backyard, a lot down the park. We'd get done dinner and run down, and we'd play all night down at the park.
So Teddy, you're 86 Dickinson grad, which means you graduated from your high school in 82. So was there AAU back then? Like, were you just playing in at the playground to work on your game, or were you doing AAU ball back in 79, 80, 81?
Yeah. To my knowledge, there was no AAU. I'm sure there was somewhere, but around Philadelphia, there was none of that. There was just you played at your local park. Right. You get there in the morning, maybe play all day, go back for dinner, play at night, and depending on what community you're in, you had your own home court. Mine was Powell Road Park. There was 3 or 4 others in Springfield that you could go to, and even outside of Delaware County, everybody kind of had their home park. So that's the way I grew up. And then you'd play in your middle school, your St. Francis in a league, or you'd play in a summer league, with your middle school or high school friends. So that was kind of my universe of hoops.
Which of the Kirkpatrick brothers were the best players? I get asked this all the time about me and my brothers. I'm like, I'm going to do this to somebody else.
And we will be sharing this podcast with your brother. So
yeah. It's an unfair question. What's funny about that question?
Totally.
It's different times in my life, they're better than me. So I learned from them when I was younger than them, and they were better than me. And then at a certain point, you get better than them. So I tend not to look at it that way, that I was the best, but I learned from all of them. I learned from each of them different things.
A very diplomatic way to say you were better than them. And that's just, let's be real.
Ted can still go to Thanksgiving dinner. Well done.
That's right.
All right. So where'd you go to high school? You played at what high school? I don't think, did you say it? Because
Springfield High School.
Springfield High School.
Public high school.
And were you guys good? What was your high school program like?
Yeah, we had a great program. We so I would say in the late 70s and 80s, it was rare for anybody to play on a varsity team when you were a freshman, maybe as a sophomore.
Yeah.
So I didn't really start playing on the varsity until my junior year. So I got 2 years in. And junior year, we had a great all-stater, Deion Irons. And eventually we were we made it to the state finals that year. So we really had a great run. We won the Central League, which is our local league here. And that was a tough run. Got into the districts. And then as a cool statistic, we ended up in the state playoffs. And we beat 3 teams in a row that were 33-1. The first round of the states, I think, might have been Reading High School. And these were the powerhouses of Pennsylvania hoops back then. But Reading 33-1, we beat them at the buzzer. I had a foul shot with about 5 seconds to go. That was forget where that was. Anyway, then we played Coatesville. It was monster 33-1. Beat them in a great game, and then finally beat Whitehall in the state semifinals. And just to throw out some names there, Scotty Koval was an all-stater back then. Noack, Bobbiak, they had a great team. So we ended up at the state finals, lost. I'm not going to talk a lot about that. We lost to Uniontown.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's funny. Bram may not know this because he's from Jersey. But Teddy, that's Quad A in Pennsylvania, right? At that point,
those are the largest schools. I think at that time it was Quad A or 3A even. But I couldn't remember the largest.
Quad A. I thought it existed at that point, but that is like you're talking about. You're talking about Pennsylvania big school basketball royalty. Those teams you named, like those are every single year. Those are great programs. Yeah,
great programs, and some of their best teams. I mean, I don't know if they were just saying this, but we knocked off some of their best teams ever. You know, if you think of a Whitehall team, they actually won the state championship in the next year. They beat us in the state semifinals. My senior year, and.
Hey, Ted, so you mentioned 3 times that these 3 teams were 33-1. What was your record going to those games?
I think we had lost like 5 games. We actually lost 2 in the Central League to a local team, Haverford. Okay. And it was just, we weren't really, what's that?
You're like 28-5. I mean, you're real good. Okay.
We were good. We were, if you look at the ratings, they used to have these Dunkel ratings back then in the newspaper. I think. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm laughing. I hadn't thought of the Dunkel ratings in a long time.
Yeah.
Do we need to explain what a newspaper is for those tuning in right now? Or
that's right. Isn't that funny? We were in the top 10 toward the end of the season, and each week, I guess we kept going up. I said, "Here comes Springfield." We were known as Springfield Delco because there was a Springfield, Montgomery County. So a lot of the upstate teams would call us Delco because we were parentheses Delco. Yeah. Anyway, so we lost to the state, and then the next year we lost our all-stater Dion Irons, and we came back with still 5 very good players, great team, and we ended up losing to Whitehall in the state semis. But to back up that year in the state first round of the states, we actually in our districts we came in 4th because we lost 2 games in our district. So we played the number 1 team from District 3. Who was that, guys? District 3, freshman.
Is that Carlisle at that point?
That's right.
Yeah.
So we played Jeff Lebo.
Okay.
Jeff Lebo was a freshman, and they may have been undefeated. But I'll just throw that out again. They were probably 33-1 or something like that. But they could have been undefeated. They might have been undefeated.
So Lebo broke that rule about freshmen not playing varsity.
That's right. He was a stud.
Yeah,
we played up in the Farm Show Arena, and it's when I was being recruited by Gene Evans from Dickinson, and the Harrisburg Farm Show Arena was packed, 9/10 with Carlisle fans and our little contingent from Springfield Delco, and they got out to a quick, I think it was 10-2 lead. Lebo just came right down, skinny little freshman, bopped the first 8 points, and we clawed back over time, and again won this game in the last second with Carlisle.
Wow. So you said you had good players. Obviously, Dion was good. The next year, you guys come back. You come back. You said you got 5 good players. Did those guys go play somewhere?
Well, so we had me, and I wasn't really a big scorer back then. I mean, I averaged maybe 15. Junior year, maybe 13, 14. And we had another guy, Michael Ciano, who was an all-state football player, played at Syracuse. my good buddy Glenn, Bob Butler, Paul Whitman. So all kind of in any given year, like all league kind of players. But if I'm really going to bring on the glue to those teams was my coach Jerry Quiedenfeld. So this was kind of a guy out of like a real motivator, like a Bobby Knight kind of guy, young guy. And I know we don't have a lot of time for this, but it was on my mind. I need to go all the way back to my second grade class.
I love this.
So I'm at Central School, second grade. And in first grade, we had this physical education teacher. It was a woman, Mrs. Pekaski. And she was right out of the Wonder Years. Like she wore a dress, and we did calisthenics, and played with bowling pins, and God knows what we were being taught. I'm sure she was a lovely lady. Well, then she must have left, and then we get this Jerry Quiedenfeld, who's this madman out of Westchester University, and right away we knew it was all going to be different. So this is my future high school basketball coach. And we had this little gym down in the basement, and we used to play bombardment at Central School in grade school with these rubber balls. I don't know if you remember that, but hard rubber balls, and we're like 15 feet away, and we loved it as boys because he was like, we cranked them so hard. Anyway, that was the beginning of how I think we had such a great class of athletes at Springfield High School, especially class of '82.
Interesting.
We were all three sport athletes. I mean, all these guys I'm mentioning, I played soccer, I played basketball, I played lacrosse. I played baseball a little bit early on, but we were all three sport athletes and just went from one sport to the next. Yep. So if I were going to give credit to anybody for my success and our class's success, it was going to be Jerry Quiedenfeld, because he really came in and he really pushed us. And talk about like self-motivation and discipline and competitiveness. There was really no one else in my world that came at it like Coach Q. So, and then we got a whole dose of it when we got into high school, and he was the head coach.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your recruiting story. So you're a good player. I mean, you score 14 points a game in a 32-minute game. That's good, right? So you're a good player. You're on good teams. Maybe you have some better players on your teams, but you're a good player. So tell us when you first learned that colleges were showing interest. Tell us what colleges showed interest, and tell us about your journey getting to Dickinson.
So I'm not sure I got any. Well, I know I didn't get any interest sophomore year because I was on JV, but as soon as mid-year, junior year came in, then the letters started coming. And that was just because we were a very good team. We had a lot of exposure locally and then through the state of Pennsylvania by the end of the year. So I was on a lot of all-star teams at the end of junior year. I was all central. I was all district. I really became a very good player in between my sophomore year and my junior year. I really gained a lot of skill and competitiveness from that. So it was a big leap in my ability to play hoops. Anyway, I always answer this question by sort of a joke. I may have been the most heavily recruited D3 player ever, just because no one thought I would be a D1 player, because I was a 6'3.5" center at the end of the day at Springfield High School, which I wasn't. I was an okay shooter. I was a pretty good shooter, but as a rule, we weren't really allowed, and it was before three-pointers. There was no three-pointers when I played high school and even college. So there was no shooting from 20 feet. Deion Irons did because he could do it, but the most I ever took was a 15-footer, and even that was a stretch. I was a jump hook kind of guy and tough guy inside, and I could shoot a 15-footer. But anyway, that's the funny way of saying that I didn't get a lot of Division I just because I was 6'3", I was a short guy. Yeah. But I think coaches knew I'd be a very good Division III player, which I turned out to be. So I would get a lot of letters from D3, D2, and at the end of the day, we had a local guy, Wes Overhaul, who was a Dickinson grad, and I think he's in the Hall of Fame, basketball player, maybe the first 1,000-point scorer at Dickinson. I forget if that's a true stat or not, but but he was a local guy from media, good friends with my father, and he put me on the map with Gene Evans, and said, "Listen, you got this kid from Springfield. He's going to be a good D3 player, and you should take a look at him." So then Gene, in his own way, Gene Evans was a great coach. He was a big letter writer. This is before email, but he would write letters, and he had his own writing style, and you knew it was a letter from Gene when you get it in the mail.
Yep.
Say, oh, that's from Coach Evans.
Yeah.
And if anything in recruiting, you guys know, if people really put interest in you, then you're attracted to that school.
Sure. Yeah.
So a separate story about that is that I have a stepsister and a stepbrother also. My stepsister Tracy and stepbrother Mark. So Tracy ended up going to Dickinson. She was an '82 grad, Dickinson. So I'd go up and visit her, and it was always a great time to go up and visit Tracy and meet everybody. And everybody loved the kid brother coming into town. So every time I went up there, I had a great time. And anyway, so that was my in for Dickinson. But I was recruited by many other Division III.
Did you look at any other place?
I think I visited like Gettysburg, and I think I visited F&M, and but I knew early on. Like I remember going to a like an all-star kind of thing at the beginning of senior year, and it was one of those things where the coaches would come in and look at people and be recruited. And I already said to Gene that I was coming to Dickinson. Like I was one of the few guys that knew where they were going. So I didn't really get caught up in a lot of the recruiting. Not that it was so madness, but I didn't really go into a lot of, because right away I chose Dickinson because I knew what it was about. I knew it was a good education. It's kind of what I wanted, and I knew it was kind of my level of hoops. It was great hoops. I met a bunch of the players and knew their backgrounds, and it was at the end of the day really a perfect fit for me.
So
I mean, they were handwritten. They weren't typed out. They were handwritten, signed by Gene. So it was special.
Yeah.
So Ted, I'm going to go down the 6'3.5" path because I too am 6'3.5", and I too was a center in high school for a small prep school in New Jersey, right? And so I did not really have the skills. I had a 50-foot jumper too, but I got to Dickinson. I quickly realized that I was going to be an undersized forward, right?
Yeah.
And that shaped my career. So I'm just curious about your journey. So you say that you were a big guy, but you clearly had skills, right? Because you came in at 6'3.5". So tell us a little bit, for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about your journey. Did you have to become a guard or a small forward, or did you stay in the paint, use those hook shots, and just make a career for yourself as a 6'3.5" center at Dickinson?
Yeah. I never played guard. Like I was always tall at any age in third grade and sixth grade.
Exactly.
So it's just what happened in hoops. You're the tall guy, so they put you in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens anymore, though, right? We got
No.
take guard. No.
There's too many fathers around saying, "I want them in the middle."
Right.
I played alumni games. I played alumni games with Ted Kirkpatrick. Trust me, he can play. He can face the basket. I know he can. That's why I want to hear how he transformed some of that. Right. I want to hear about how you played. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say one story comes to mind. Like, I used to play one-on-one a lot with this Kevin Boyle guy that I used to go to high school with, and he used to beat my ass all the time because he was a little quick guard, tough. But I just loved the competitiveness there. So I learned that, that the kind of moves of how you get by somebody from Kevin, and just playing one-on-one with Dion. And as I keep mentioning these names, like they always beat my ass, but you learn from that, right? You got to guard them. You got to get by them. So I think that was one thing. I learned a lot at basketball camps. I mean, as much as you learn from just playing outdoors, I valued so much going to camps, and maybe I do 2 or 3 week-long camps. And I think they still do that. I don't know. I don't know if they just play games.
I know. I'm not sure either. But we know what you go, you learn stuff. You'd have other coaches from across the region, teaching you things, and a lot of times things would click. You had to go work on it. But What camps did you go to? Ted, do you remember? Were there ones that you always went to?
Yeah. So my first camp I was at, again, to bring my brothers back into it, there used to be a guy, Jack Kraft, who was an early coach of Villanova. And he probably had a place up in the Poconos, but it was called the Jack Kraft Camp. And I remember, I don't know if I was crying, but, my big brother's going away to this camp. It's like, man, I want to go. And then when I first got of age, I could go. And I went for 2 years to Jack Kraft. And then I went to some local, Pocono Mountain, I remember, was a big one. I went a few years. And then I had some great local camps. Skip Worley, the old Springfield high school coach, used to run some great camps. But back then it was less about playing a lot of games, which you did play a lot of games, but it was skills. It was going like hoop to hoop. You'd have a high school head basketball coach teaching you different things at this hoop, and you go to the next one. So I just remember coming out of those camps with a lot of information, a lot of new things to try. Many times there was Division I players coming back. I remember there was a guy from Springfield High School who was about 8 years older than me, Dave Batten, and he did a lot of those camps. He went to Notre Dame, was in the pros for a few years. Big guy, had a great career. And I just remember looking up at him thinking, man, I'd love to do something like him, not play in the NBA, but just be a great kind of big player. I used to watch him in those games. So skill-wise, I would say I think I was a step quicker. I was never a fast guy, but I was quick. I was quick. I had great footwork. I didn't mean to say it that way, but I think I have pretty good footwork. And when I talk to people about, like, why can't you guard this guy? He's not fast. I remember a coach saying like that, the assistant coach, like, stay in front of him. He's like, I can't stay in front of him. I just had a quick way of getting around people and knowing where to put my feet and how to do footwork. So I think that kept me a little bit ahead of the next.
Yeah. So let's talk about your arrival at Dickinson. And I love this aspect of when you arrive at Dickinson, you're very kind of aware of who just left. Okay. And that's because in the recruiting materials you've been getting, they're the junior or the seniors, right? So
yeah.
For me, it was Cal Williams and Tom Warnock. I never really knew them, but I knew them, right?
Yeah.
For you, I think it was Freisinger, right? Freisinger had just graduated when you show up.
That's right.
So, but you go in, it's a good team. You got Billy Thornton. So tell us a little bit about your freshman year, how that evolves. Did you get some time? Tell us a little bit about that team. We just honored that team a couple of years ago. And then just walk us through your career the next 4 years. Yeah,
that's a great question. It's a big eye-opener when you're kind of the big fish in high school, and then you end up going to college, and you're like, wow, these guys have 4 years of hoop under the belt at this level, and you're just like, okay, I got to learn all this stuff that I don't know, because all those little moves before are like put back in your face, Eddie Ward and Thornton and Kyle Miller and Fred Paradise, we're all beasts. Granted, they were all like 6'3" and 6'4", but they were better players than me at the time, and any weak move, you'd pay for it. So I learned so much from Eddie Ward of how to play the D3 game and what I need to do.
Shout out to Ed Ward, by the way, Hall of Fame. Let's give a shout out.
Oh yeah. Congrats. Yeah. He was a beast. Yeah, he was a guy I looked up to really when I stepped on that court freshman year, because he was an all Centennial, all MAC guy, and probably the best center in that league, if I remember. So I learned a lot of moves from him. He had a great kind of inside out game. Like, he could be a post up player, but he would get the ball and just dribble out to 15 feet and shoot. He had a great baseline jumper, which I kind of learned from him that I could score from there. So that's the kind of guys I looked up to, was the Eddie Wards and just learning that game. So where did I end up? Gene was a guy that was kind of out of the old John Wooden days. He would never start a freshman. So, So I think I deserved to start, but they had a great five. But I found myself playing many minutes, and I play at the end usually in those games, which it didn't matter as long as don't get me wrong, my first goal that freshman year was making the team. When you get recruited, like, Gene's like, oh, you're going to do great here. It's going to be great. And I don't know if you guys got to go. Well, you didn't, because Gene Evans wasn't there. But Gene had this dinner
for 2 years. Yeah,
Don Evans would put this dinner together. All the recruited guys are going to be there. I'm thinking there'd be like 4 or 5 guys. There must have been 15 different guys there. And I was like, they're all as tall as me in general. I'm like, holy shit. How good are these guys? Because you don't know. Yeah. And they're all good in their own way, and you don't know where you stack up. But I had a funny story. I was my freshman RA. His name is Bill Carney. It was Morgan A1. And it was one of the first weeks you're there, and they're kind of more helping you out and doing. He's like, I'm like, yeah, I'm playing basketball. I'm a basketball guy. He's like, oh my God, I heard they got this great recruit coming out. Gene Evans is really excited about this guy. I'm like, oh my God, what's his name? And he's like, I'm not sure what his name is, but it ended up he was talking about me. So I didn't really.
It was nice to hear it from your RA.
Yeah, I didn't know it at the time, but I was like, oh, who is this guy? Who's my competition? I'm just naive. So anyway, my goal there was just to make the varsity, which I did. Yeah. And got a lot of playing time freshman year. So,
and of the guys that came up, the same thing with me. I think I came in with 9 guys, and only 2 of us lasted 4 years. Do you have any sense of how many of those guys that came in with you freshman year, how many lasted 4 years with you?
2 others. There was Chip Holgren, who was a great player. He started maybe junior and senior year. Yeah. And Chapel Carter was a guard. Yeah. He played all years. I think that was the only one that made it all the way to senior year. Not many of them make it through. 3 of us, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So your teams were very good when you were there. Your freshman year, you don't start, but you're playing a lot. You're coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Do you start your sophomore, junior, and senior year?
Yeah. So sophomore year, we were really looking forward to continuing, winning the MAC.
Right.
And unfortunately, 2 of our best players, I would say, Fred Paradise, who was a great athlete, great basketball player, he left school his senior year for unknown reasons. And then Kyle Miller, the other guy, he would have been an all MAC guy. He left. We had a great player coming in, Sam Jacobs, who ended up leaving after sophomore year going to Cornell and was all Ivy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I'm telling you, if those 2 guys would have stayed and we had Sam Jacobs, we could have really had a lot of wins with that team. Unfortunately, since we lost those 2, Sam Jacobs was there. We really had a horrendous sophomore year. We really didn't do too well. And I remember Gene coming to me 5 or 6 games in, and not being a real scorer. He's like, Teddy, you really got to step up and be more of a scorer. I always wanted to win games, but I would never think that I would need to score 20 points to win, to have the team win. But we didn't really have a lot of scorers without Fred and without Kyle. So I had in my mind, at least, that I needed to shoot more, I needed to score more, which I did. But at the end of the day, we just were not a great team. Yeah. That said, I remember at the end of the year, Gene came up to me and says, hey, I want to congratulate you. You made the all-league team. And I was flabbergasted. I was like really surprised because we were probably in last place in the MAC that year. And to have an all-league player from a last place team, was kind of special feeling for me. Yeah. And I don't know how many, I may have scored maybe 15 a game or something like that. I really don't even remember, but I was all league that year.
So did you end up being
I know people have told me how good Fred Paradise was and how good Kyle Miller was. I think Kyle tore his knee up, didn't he?
Yes.
At some point, so he was recovering from an injury too, and I know those guys were supposed to be really. They were good players.
They were good players. Yeah. They were great players. They were great D players. Freddie could have been a D1 as far as I know. He was a great athlete. He was a great jumper. He could dunk it just by off 2 feet. He had bad knees too. Maybe it was the Dickinson floor back then.
100%
plastic. Do you remember that?
No.
I feel it today. I remember it when we played. Yeah.
Oh my God. So they had bad knees, but I probably on 3 different occasions twisted my ankle on this just because there was kind of no give like wood. It would just grab your foot.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to me with my ankles. But I don't think I ever lost. I don't think I ever missed a game. from all 4 years, but I did have ankle problems. But Freddie was a hell of a player, and Kyle.
Yeah.
So did you end up winning all league your last 3 years? If you made it as a sophomore, what happened your junior and senior year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, again, same as in high school. Like I had a big leap in talent, or whatever you want to call it, from sophomore year to junior year. I turned into a real all-leaguer junior year, meaning I was averaging maybe 20 a game. And, along with it came assists and all those other things I did. So I kind of really figured it out from sophomore year into junior year. So by junior year, I was, again, an all-league player in senior year.
Okay, Ziggy, this latest episode of Please Allow Me to Introduce Myself is sponsored by the Friends of Red Devil Basketball, right, of whom you and I are members of it. And we want to use this time to remind everybody about the Alumni Hoops Weekend this year in February of 2026. So can you give the listeners the dates?
Sure. It's the last home game of the year. Both men and women are playing. It's senior night, so it's special. And that's Saturday, February 21st. So we'll all start gathering on Friday, February 20th. Most of us make it a 2-night stay, but we'll have events on Friday night. The alumni game, for those who want to play, will be Saturday morning. Then both the men and the women will play. We'll have a reception after the men's game, and then we'll all end up at the G-Man. So February 20th and 21st, we look forward to seeing you all.
Yeah, we can't wait to see you. If you're thinking of coming, sign up. If you have a question, ping any of us on the board. We'll be glad to help you understand it. And bring a teammate.
Yeah.
Come back with a teammate you haven't seen in a while and hang out with them. You will be thrilled at how well it goes and how great it is. And you'll meet a bunch. You may meet some new people. So,
and our goal is 100 people.
I can't wait to see you.
3 years, and we want to break 100.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Can't wait to see my teammate and buddy, Ziggy, on the 20th. Hopefully we'll see you there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's funny. We talked to some people, and the ones we've interviewed so far have basically identified as basketball players, right? Like you're saying, I had a good summer. I went, and you clearly identified as a basketball player. You did other things. We'll talk about your major and things like that. But was that one of your driving forces at school? I mean, it had to have been.
At Dickinson?
Yeah.
Playing basketball, you mean?
Yeah.
Did you identify yourself as a basketball player?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think people identified me as a basketball player, but I was involved in fraternity life. It's a small school, so basketball was always there. You were always the basketball guy. I'm not sure I identified myself as a basketball player, but I think other people did. I like to just be a part of the crowd, and basketball was definitely a differentiator with me. But I played lacrosse freshman year. I really enjoyed that.
I was going to ask you if you did that. Yeah, I was going to ask if you played lacrosse.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as I said, I was a 3-sport guy, and I always thought that's what you did. In high school, you just finished the soccer season, and then the next day I'd be on the basketball court, and then literally the next day after hoop season, I'd be playing lacrosse.
Yeah, me too. That's how we grew up.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I did that at Dickinson for some reason, and I said, well, I'm going to play basketball, but I also wanted to play lacrosse. Yeah. And lacrosse team at that point, it's a great program now. It's a top 10 program. Coach Webster
Webby's done an unbelievable job.
He just got Coach of the Year, I think. But what a great program he has. And but back then, Coach Gobrak was the coach. Great guy. He was a football guy. He wasn't really a lacrosse guy. And I'm not sure he recruited for lacrosse, but whoever showed up played. So we weren't that good. But I really enjoyed it. But you know how long a basketball season is. It's multiple months. And I remember going, I don't know if it was February or whenever basketball season ends. And then the next day I'm trudging my way up to lacrosse. I'm like, what am I doing? I remember walking towards, maybe it's March. I'm walking up in front of the where the fraternities are, and everybody's out there throwing frisbees and having a good time, and I'm trudging up to lacrosse practice after 4 months of playing basketball. I'm like, I'm not doing this again. But I did finish this. I did finish freshman lacrosse and played that.
So tell us about your academic journey. So you come into Dickinson. What are your interests? Did you pursue those interests, or did you find something along the way that you're like, hey, I'll chase this?
Yeah, did you know what you wanted to do, or did you have an idea of what you wanted to do when you got to college?
I did.
Yeah.
I did for some reason. Believe me, I'm not an academic guy, and any of my friends would say that. I have one funny story of back when you used to choose classes. I guess you'd have to go into an auditorium and like go around and like sign up for classes. You know, there's nothing online. Do you remember that? And you get a piece of paper.
Yeah.
We did it.
I'm interested. So to answer your question, I was a computer science major, and our school at Springfield High School was one of the first kind of school districts around us that had computers. You know, there were I don't know what they were, like little laptops, or forget what they were. But I remember having 2 courses in high school, my senior year, and they were computer programming courses. And I loved it. I mean, there wasn't anything else like that. I was a math guy, computer science, you know, it was advanced math. And then I got into this computer science. So I said to myself, I'm like, you're definitely going to get a job coming out of high school, coming out of college, if you take computer science. So that's what I wanted to do. And I liked it. I went all 4 years, graduated, major of computer science, minor mathematics. So I love both of those. Now, did I miss a lot of my classes? Yes, I did.
Right.
In hindsight,
not because of away games.
It's embarrassing. I know you don't have access to my my class list, which we don't do that, but it's embarrassing. I took some college courses or some master's courses maybe 10 years ago, and I had to ask for my transcript. This is after I'm a father telling my kids, you got to work hard in school. I looked at my transcript. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So that said, it's computer science and mathematics. Anyway, my story I was going to tell you about going into the auditorium was there was a computer science intro at 7:45 a.m. And I'm like, this is when I started high school. You know, you start at 7:30, and I'm like, I'll be fine. Well, I wasn't fine.
Yeah.
You know, you're different hours. I'm getting up at 7 o'clock. I'm like, I can't do this. So that was a bad start to my academic career, Bram.
Did you ever flirt with the eligibility line? Because Cope and I played with someone who was flirting along that line.
No.
Yeah. Come on. We told him we're not bringing up transcript, Ziggy, and here you're bringing up transcript.
Sorry.
No, I wasn't a D guy. I was like a B-, C+ guy. So that kept me out of trouble.
Good. Okay, so you graduate computer science, and tell us about your professional journey. You have a job the day you graduate. You go home, find a job. What's the path?
Actually, I didn't have a job when I graduated. I was like, at the end of 4 years in college, I was like, I sent out like a bunch of resumes like everybody else did, and got a bunch of rejections like everybody else. And at the end of that process, like I didn't have a job. And then I went back to homecoming, and someone said, hey, you know, I'm working at this company. I ended up selling computers early on, which was fine for me. It was computer oriented. I wanted to be something around computers, and it was really a great time to be in computer sales. So I did all right. I didn't love it, but I did it. And then my wife and I got married. Dickinson girl, Laura Grover Kirkpatrick, which
86.
happens a lot at Dickinson. You meet your wife there. And she ended up getting to Duke business school. So around three years after we graduated, I think that's right. And we ended up going down to Duke University. Right in the middle, luck would have it, with the Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley years.
Yes.
So that was key. So we went down there. We were in this little apartment. She was going off to business school. So her first day, she went off to business school. I marched right into the what's the name of the Duke Cameron Center?
Cameron Indoor.
Cameron Indoor. I'm like, who do I talk about working here? and they sent me around the corner to this guy who was in charge of it, Coach Diarmai, who was a baseball coach. And I'm like, hey, I'd really like to work for Duke Athletics, volunteer. And he's like, who are you? And like, oh, my wife goes to business school. And he's like, you come back tomorrow at 7 a.m. He must have been testing me. So come back the next day, come in. He's like, we need some people to take tickets to the football game. I'm like, I'm in. Duke football at that point really wasn't a big deal. And so I did all the football season. And then at the end of the football season, I've got my fingers crossed. And he comes, hey, could you do some security for the basketball games? I'm like, absolutely. And again, this is back when Duke was number 1 or 2 with North Carolina, Hurley, Leitner, championships. I'm like, great. He's like, well, you need to be security for the master students, like the business kids and the medical school kids for security. I'm like, well, that's got to be easy, which it was. But I got to go in a half an hour before the game started. Dickie V's walking around. I'm talking to him. All those old Al McGuire.
Oh yeah, yes.
Where the rest of the city was outside in line. They had to wait in line. All the kids were there for a whole week. Anyway, I walked right in. So it was perfect 2 years for me. And that's what I did to get in all the games. And then my wife was in the lottery. She got her games. So
nice. That sounds
we had
great.
a great time.
That's a great story.
Isn't it a great story?
I was afraid you were going to say that you're working security, so you had to have your back to the court and watch the crowd. I was going to say, like,
I probably should have, but no, I watched every game from beginning to end. And I was there early and left late. It was magic. It was really a great time. And I remember one in particular was I think it was North Carolina, Duke, on national TV, 1 and 2. I mean, how many times do you get to see that at Cameron Indoor Stadium?
Yeah.
I forget who was playing for North Carolina at that time. Was it like Montrose, or forget who they were playing against? But
I'm trying to think.
He might have been. He was after that, I think.
After that,
yeah, I'm trying to think who those Carolina teams were in 90, 91.
yeah.
But all right, so Teddy, what are you doing? What are you doing these days? Where do you live? Tell us. You mentioned your wife. Tell us what you do now. Kids. Yeah.
So I'm retired now. I just retired last year. My wife's retired as of 3 months ago. So I had a career after coming back from Duke in IT and process improvement, Six Sigma, data analytics, kind of that. I worked for Vanguard for 8 years. I worked for a company called Kendall Corporation for another 10. So had a nice career, retired. Wife had a great career, and 3 boys. So I have 3 boys now. I got to coach them all growing up into soccer and basketball and lacrosse, and they're all out in the working world now, have nice careers. So we had a great life, growing up. We've been in the same house, still in the same house we had for 25 years in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Any hoopsters? Any of your sons hoopsters?
Well, here's a funny story. 2 of them are 6'8", right?
How tall's your wife?
Yeah, she's 5'9". She's tall, but my third is like 6'2" or 6'3". But yeah, they were high school basketball players. What I didn't do with them, talk about AAU, like for us, they didn't go down to the park every day. It's like I was going to say they've never played a game I didn't have to pay for, kind of thing. That's sort of a sarcastic way to say, they didn't have that same experience of going down the park and hanging up. And, I didn't take them around to different states playing AAU. So they were great high school players, all 3 of them. And then my oldest son played lacrosse at Holy Cross. So he liked lacrosse more. That said, he's playing in New York now. He's playing basketball for Nyack in New York. So he's a very good basketball player.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah.
But the other 2 boys were also. They played lacrosse and basketball. So so that was very enjoyable for me as a father to coach them and work with them. So,
I like that.
Yeah.
So, Ted, I remember the first time I met you. I don't know what year it was, but my first alumni game would have been February of 90. because I came to Dickinson, and I just remember like there being, like again, like my point, like you've heard of these guys that have come through before, right? So you would have been 7 years older than me, but I just remember there being a presence, right, when you were at the alumni game, right? Like, okay, this guy's good, right? Even before you got on the floor, and then watching you play, right? So I kind of always knew who you were, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe one year, maybe you'd already started at Vanguard, and I was an econ major, and I remember thinking that was cool. But yeah, even though you and I didn't overlap at all, I would say that you had a presence for me as someone who came back. Maybe you came back those years from Duke, I don't know, but I kind of knew who you were. Right?
Yeah.
You didn't know me, but I knew who you were, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
and that's what's cool about this, having a program, right? We are multi-decades of people, right? And I think that's cool for the current players to see all of us come back. I think it's really cool.
I always love coming back. The guy I played with, Mike Erdos, he would always encourage us all to come back, and we did for years and years, and played until we were some of the oldest players. And Cope and Bram, we came back 3 or 4 years ago, maybe, and played. That was probably about the last alumni game I played in.
Yeah.
Excuse me, pre-COVID. But Cope, you got to tell that story where you thought I dropped 60 in the alumni game.
I swear to God, I will have already discussed it in the introduction. I swear to God, Ziggy, I think I had like 10 points and 20 rebounds. Kirkpatrick, Thornton, and Erdos did not miss for like 27 minutes in a row. We were playing the young guys.
Yeah.
And the young guys went zone on us. Like, and I swear to you, like, look, you could say Kirkpatrick at 37. I'm telling you, it felt like 60. I think we rung up like 110. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember, because it was you, Thornton, and Erdos, and you guys did not, and me and Jeff Thompson, I think. And you guys,
2 of the greatest rebounders in Dickinson history.
That's all we wanted.
We just relied on you guys.
We wanted to rebound, and God knows we weren't getting it back from these guys. And oh my God, it was so much fun. It was so hilarious. I loved it. It was one of my favorite. And Teddy, you were one of the guys, like Bram was talking about. When I came to Dickinson, I had been reading all the programs, so like I knew you. I knew who Freisinger was because he's from my area, but like it was Workman and Schaefer and Erdos and Yoder and all those guys, and I knew who they were. And I came in, and they had just graduated, or they were the guys the year behind you. But I wanted to be like, I wanted you guys to know who I was, and then I wanted to be somebody like that when I come back. People are like, oh, I think I heard that guy was pretty good or whatever. And so, yeah, I knew exactly who you guys were.
Well, so their mugs were up. Their mugs were upstairs, like they were Hall of Famers, right? And so you look at Kirkpatrick's mug, and you're like, who is this tough guy, right? And then you look at Thornton's mug, and you're like, who's this choir boy? And they're like, yeah, he dropped 1,200 points. You're like, what?
Yeah, it's Teddy. I was looking at your stats, and a couple of things kind of jumped out at me. Is that you scored a good amount of points. I think it was 1,300. I think that's what I got you at, somewhere in 1,300. Yeah, 1,348. But you were an all-around player. You're in steals. You're in assists. You're in field goal percentage. You guys were good. You were a very good player. And like I always aspired to, I wanted to be up there with you guys. But you had a career where you were a player, not just a scorer, not just something else. And was that something you took pride in? Was that something you focused on or even cared about?
Yeah. I really did want to be an all-around player. And as I say, I go back to this coach Quiedenfeld. Defense was the most important thing you could do at Springfield Hoops. And it's a reason, really, we won so many games in the playoffs. But that said, I wouldn't say I was a great defensive player, but I was a tough defensive player, and I loved to steal the ball. It was one of my favorite plays in basketball to do. And I loved passing the ball. I really loved the assists. And I don't like to toot my horn very often, but I think when I left Dickinson, I might have been on the top of the top 3 in scoring, but I know it was in the top assists, block shots,
Block
steals,
shots and
yeah,
steals. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
assists.
Yeah.
So I was proud of that. In fact, when I got into the Hall of Fame, I remember Frischler was the
Alf
was the
President. Yeah.
president, and I was getting my award, and he starts looking at saying Ted Kirkpatrick, what had happened. He's reading all these things, and he looks over and he's like, "That's pretty good. That's pretty good." Like even he was surprised. He was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." So, and just another story about president. I had this written down to say, but one of the other reasons that I considered Dickinson so highly was I remember going up on my visit and with my sister. They had a president way back when. His name was Sam Banks, and he was so involved with athletics, more than I knew. But what I did know that you'd see him on the sideline of the football games, every game, and he came in at halftime for the basketball team and be right behind Gene Evans when Gene Evans, was talking to the team. So there was never a bigger supporter of athletics at Dickinson at the time than Sam Banks. Really, really a great supporter of the Red Devils. So anyway, I wanted to say that.
So Ted, let me ask you my question. So I ask everyone this question. So what experience did you have playing basketball for Dickinson on the floor, in the locker room, among your teammates that you think best prepared you for things that happen in your professional life?
Let's see. I think it was that difference between the 2 coaches I had. I mentioned that in high school, Jerry Quiedenfeld, so master motivator, and he'd be the kind of guy you'd walk in the locker room and he'd get 15 minutes with the team, and then you'd be ready to jump through a brick wall and go out and play hard. So if you turn that difference to Dickinson and to a Gene Evans coach, again, Gene Evans was kind of old school. He was John Wooden kind of guy. And his strengths were in preparation and discipline, and even disregarded the beginning speech to get you motivated. His expectation from day one is that you were going to be motivated, and it's on you to bring it, and it's on you to be prepared. I'm going to give you all the tools and support to do that, but at the end of the day, if you're not ready and you're not motivated, why? It's on you. So talk about 2 different dichotomies of philosophies of motivation. So why is that important? I mean, if you take that into the business world, you're talking about there's no coach behind you saying, get that report, do this. You might be lucky and have a mentor or 2 that are going to help you out that you can go to, but not many. So again, what I would take away from that is it was all around being self-motivated. Be prepared. So I took that away from Dickinson and from Gene Evans in particular, that, I'm not here to be your motivator. You better bring it. You better be ready. Yeah. And honestly, every player can't take that advice. Some people do need to be yelled at and motivated and may not show up at the games and play just because they're having a bad day or whatever's happening. But anyway, that would be my answer for that, Bram. I think that's...
I like that answer. That was a great one. Yeah, self-motivation, such an important skill. Yeah.
Thank you. And that's very much how Coach was. You're absolutely... I'm sitting here listening to you talk about him, like thinking, Teddy, it's exactly the way he was. I hadn't really thought about it that way. And, it brought back some pleasant and some less pleasant memories.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong. I think halftime speeches, Gene would come in and really give it to you if the team wasn't playing. Like Gene was a yeller, And one funny story I can tell you in the locker room, Gene used to chew gum, You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So we're in the locker room, and God knows what we must have been down points for not playing. And we're all sitting in there waiting for him to come in. Door bangs open. Gene starts yelling. First thing that happens is his gum flies out. it falls kind of right at somebody's feet, and Gene's walking up and down. No one's listening to a word he's saying. We're all worried that Gene is going to step on the gum, so we're watching him go, and we're little smirks on our face. And that was just so funny. And then he storms out. We just end up cracking up.
I love the distinction there about someone yelling to motivate versus to scold.
Yeah, that's right.
And he could scold, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Could he ever? Well, as I end so many of these calls, it seems like I feel like I could talk to you, Teddy, all night long, and I think we did one time.
Let me ask one more question, Cope.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask Ted, give us your perspective on your Alumni Hoops Weekend journey, because you've now come back a couple times, not every year, but I think you've had a great time. Hopefully you'll be coming back this year. So maybe, we always tell, what we tell everyone in these things is come back. Just come back. You'll have a great time. Maybe you could do that for our listeners. Tell people why you come back. Yeah.
Well, the motivation to come back in years prior was just that I was able to play hoops with all you guys. I mean, that was motivation enough to come back and play and talk to you guys afterwards. My motivation now is much the same. I mean, I'm not playing anymore, but it's the camaraderie of playing with you and other guys. And each year, talk about, like Bram, you said, I didn't know what to say to you or whatever. And I'll go up to a guy or two, or another guy will come up to me and say, hey, my name's so-and-so. So I'll meet 2 or 3 new friends every year of people that just because you're a Dickinson Red Devil fan. And then you're like, hey, what are you all about? Why do you come back? What are you doing? And I think Duke Scott, you guys remember Duke Scott?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's actually from Westchester. And that happened to me maybe, 10 years ago. It's just in my mind. But I'm like, Duke, how's it going, man? And we spent the night together, hanging out and hanging out at the G-Man.
Yeah, that's
fun. That's what I love about it. I mean, it's good to go back and see the old faces, but it's really the new friends that you meet they're really outstanding. And you guys know, you meet a Dickinson guy or gal, and they're all in. They're all great people. And I was down in Seattle City last summer, and this gal comes jogging by, and she's got the Dickinson gear on. I don't know about you guys, but I always stop anybody if I see Dickinson gear on anybody. I'm like, hey, Dickinson. And I forget her name. I wish she was a coach, but I think she's a Dickinson Hall of Famer. But anyway, we had a long talk, and that's what I love about Dickinson people. They're just seem to be all great people, great stories, great connections. So that's why I come back. And the more people come back, the more you'll want to come back and meet more people. So that's why I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Well, that's the best plug we've ever gotten, Cope. We can end there.
That was really good. We should have him on more. He should do this. Yeah. Well, Teddy, the reason we do these things is because of what exactly what you described happens at Alumni Hoops Weekend. And you end up saying, I talked to this guy who graduated in 2017, or this girl from 2011. I didn't know her. And you end up doing you do this. You just have this kind of conversation. And that was the impetus for the podcast, is why don't we just do this with people so others can meet them in a way where they can listen to them in a podcast. So
that's a great idea.
I could talk to you all night long. I enjoy
Love
talking to you. And thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Teddy.
So great. All right.
I appreciate it. No, thanks again for doing this. And I'm looking forward to watching other people on it and to learn about them too.
Yep,
you did a great job for your first podcast ever, TK.
Totally.
First.
All right.
Hold on. I have 2 things I want to show you. I forgot about this. Can you see that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's my backyard hoop right there. That's my
your hair?
What's it? Yeah, that's my my hoop in my garage. That's me dunking.
Yeah.
I never did have a dunk in college because I really couldn't do it. And then this is something else I have hung up. This is a Dickinsonian.
Oh, yeah.
I had 35 against Gettysburg. And it's a little embarrassing.
That's at Gettysburg, yeah. Okay.
It's a little embarrassing in that I show people this and they're like, well, how many fans are there? Like 20?
Yeah.
But I was proud of it. Mr. Erdos gave this to me. Mike Erdos' father. So anyway, I wanted to show that.
Patrick had 35 in front of 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all
I'll
know
just
what it
add,
feels like. Ziggy, how great was Teddy?
That was great. I've been looking forward to that one, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah,
So.
I really enjoy talking to him at all times, and learned a bunch of things. I didn't know. By the way, I didn't know he had 3 brothers
Yeah,
who
no.
were around his age that he played with. That's interesting. What'd you take away from it, Ziggy? What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I had 3 things that I think just that I'm gonna think about for the next couple of days. One was he was very he said, I got better 2 very distinct summers. It used to be back in the day, we didn't play AAU 120 games a year, right? There were periods where we could work on our game and get better. And he made the point, like, I got better between my sophomore and junior year in high school, and he got better between his sophomore and junior year in college. And I picked up on that because that's how we used to think about it, right? We used to think about who got better over the summer, right? So I thought that was cool. I thought it was cool that he had 2 pictures in his study of him playing basketball when he was, he's what, 62, 63-year-old man. He still got a picture of him dunking in his driveway and scoring 35 against, was it Gettysburg Moravian? Love that. And then I thought his answer to my question, I loved that answer, right? He was thoughtful about it. And he said, look, I've had differences in coaching style. And, the classic one is yell, yell, yell. I'm going to get motivated. But Evans was different. He said, you need to be ready. I'm gonna prepare you for the game, but you need to get yourself ready. And that idea of self-motivation, you need that in life, right? Because no one's going to be in your ear in your job yelling at you to, like he said, get the report done, right? Yeah. So I love that whole self-motivation thing, and I loved his answer to my question. So,
yeah, well, that actually was one of my couple of things that, I played for Coach, so I could really understand what he was talking about, but I never quite thought about it to that degree. And he was, he's a good coach. He coached high school, he coached college, whatever. But that attitude is actually sort of the attitude you as a kid who goes to college sometimes has to learn, right? Where there's nobody looking over my shoulder now, and I need to figure some things out myself.
Yeah. Right.
And I was really, I will be thinking about that for a while. And, look, Teddy downplays it. He is super competitive. He is super serious about basketball, and it's fun to talk to him about it. Although he's not going to give it up in this here, but I know how serious he is about the game of basketball and his game. And you talked about it. He's the old school. I go to camps, I get drills, and then I go get drills, and I come back in September, and I'm a better player, and I'm serious about it. And, I really like that. And just, I didn't realize he was computer science. It's funny. I think all the times I've ever talked to him, and I've talked to him hundreds of times, it's always been about basketball. I don't even think I knew what he did, so I had no idea. So yeah, I feel like I got a good chance to talk to him with no distractions here and kind of get a sense of who Teddy Kirkpatrick really is outside of the basketball player that I know him to be. So.
Yeah. I'm love doing these with you, Cope, and we're going to keep doing them. We're going to keep dropping them, so I hope you all enjoy it, and we'll see you all in February.
Thanks, Ziggy.
See you, Cope.
See you, pal. Yeah, and we'll see everybody in February. And by the way, if you've listened this long, if you got somebody that you think we should be talking to that would be interesting, we don't care if they were a good player or a role player. It doesn't matter. Everybody's got an interesting story, and we'd like to hear it. So if you have nominees, send them to us. We'll probably want to talk to them.
Absolutely.
So